My name is April Wooden, and I joined the program about 4 years ago, and my initial weight loss was about 27 pounds. There's probably very few patients that this is their first attempt to lose weight. Most of us come from a background of trying lots of different things before we wind up here. So I was on the chubby side as a kid and, worked really hard to stay slim in my teenage and, younger years. And then when I wanted to lose weight, tried the typical Weight Watchers, goes back all the way to weight loss medication back in the 90s, not a good idea. So yeah, I have struggled with having my weight where I want it most of my life. I trust my doctor a lot. I think she's wonderful, and so when she suggested it, that gave me a significant comfort level to try it. As I participated in the classes and learned the physiology and anatomy behind what makes this program work, I became a real fan, because I absolutely believe that there are people that have yo-yo dieted, and it puts us in a class of people that this program calls savers. And we like to hang on to what we have, and it's very difficult to let it go. And a lot of that is based on insulin resistance. So learning to control those things with what you're putting in your body in order to help your body either maintain or lose weight made a lot of sense to me. It's one reason that I've continued to participate and plan to always continue to participate, because we learn more and more about that part of the program as we go along. And I want to make sure that what I'm doing makes sense from a medical perspective as well. So yeah, my biggest concern was just the idea of not really eating food. But then, I looked at the ingredients, all the vitamins and minerals that are included in the supplements, realized that I was getting everything that I needed. And then seeing the success of other people, it alleviated a lot of my concern at the beginning. I finally got into ketosis. And so it showed me that there are physiological responses to the meal replacements that you just don't get with eating a regular diet. And so I was successful in losing a few pounds, getting closer to where I'd been before I had the surgery. So I learned a lot about my own body, and that's another thing I like about the program. It's a very personal journey. As well as being on it with other people, you learn a lot about yourself. If something happens in the future, if I do have another operation that means I can't be moving around for a while, I know that I can go back and do a reset and do option 1, and that I'll get into ketosis and I can lose the weight more rapidly. So one of the things that I would share with other people is, don't be discouraged. It's a process. The only time that you fail is when you stop. So I'm just continuing to do all the daily things that help me. Drink my water. I track everything that goes in my mouth, and I try to use mindfulness during the day. Those things help me. And also being in the class, sharing with other people, having somebody like our leader Lisa, who is just an incredible source of information. So that's another thing that I like about the program. When things like that happen in life, you have these incredible resources to go and talk to about it, and not just Google it, not just see what you can find on the internet, but talk to people that are, registered dietitians that know nutrition inside and out, that are medical doctors that understand the physiology of what you're trying to do. So I can't say enough about that source of information and support with the program. I talked to Dr. Yen, and she said, we are finding more medications that are actually helpful in not just weight loss, but weight maintenance. And you might be a candidate to consider something like that. So, as I mentioned, having taken diet pills back in the day, that wasn't the first place that I would go. But we talked about it, and I decided to try one of them. So I am currently taking Contrave, and I think that it's an amazing assist in the program. You still need to do all the things that you need to do, but the Contrave works on receptors that would typically control things like cravings. My understanding is that it's used with people that have addictions. And so I am taking that, and it just lowers my desire for things that are really not helpful to eat. And so it's somewhat expensive. I know there are people that choose not to do it because it is an expense every month. But for me, it's really been helpful. And I would encourage people not to be afraid of trying a weight management or weight loss drug. If your medical provider is suggesting it, I think it's something to take a good look at. I get very frustrated with the attitude that somehow being obese, carrying extra weight, is not a medical condition that should be treated like other medical conditions. And if you told a person that was diabetic, well, you need to just figure this out and use more willpower and do a better job of keeping your blood sugar down, that's ridiculous. If they need insulin, they need insulin. And so I feel it's the same thing. If you are a person that struggles with insulin resistance and your brain chemistry, then why shouldn't you use medication to assist you in the same way that other people use medication for medical conditions? So I'm glad that I tried it. The one thing that I will say about the Contrave is that you cannot go cold turkey and get off of it. So Dr. Yen was very helpful in setting up a process for me to get off of it before I could have my surgery. And this happened twice because I had pacemaker surgery in October when I was supposed to have my hip replacement, but it turned out I had to have the pacemaker first, and then the hip in January. And so both times I had to wean off of it and then wean back on it. But, if you're committed to this, then those kind of things, they're just worth it. They're worth putting in the effort to do that. Well, one of the things that really motivated me to want to weigh less was that both my daughters were planning to have children. And I really want to be an active grandmother. And so that was a great motivator for me. And little did we know that the pandemic would come and they would lose their child care option and need us to be full-time caregivers 5 days a week. And I don't know that I could have done that if I hadn't lost the weight first. It was, it's very physically taxing to take care of a 14, 15, 16-month-old. And so I did notice that. I thought about it a lot, that if I hadn't lost that almost 30 pounds, it would be much harder. And he would have had a different experience with us instead of us being able to, take him to a park and run around with him. It would have been a much more sedentary experience with his grandparents. And I'm not that grandma yet, so I have a lot of years of life in me. So I would say that's it. Not to decide to do it is to decide. You're deciding to stay in the same place and suffer the consequences. So the time's going to go by. It's going to go by no matter what you choose. So choose something positive and give it your best shot and see what happens. It's absolutely worth it to make that effort to see if this is the right path for you. And maybe it isn't the right path for everybody. But it's a proven solution for so many people. It's evidence-based. It's monitored by medical professionals. I really can't see the downside. I would push really hard if it was my friend to say, please give it a try. Please hang in there for a while and see what happens. And so if you put all the effort into this program and you want to maintain your weight, then you really need to adopt a different lifestyle perspective. Not just the lifestyle activities, but a mental perspective that you're a person that is choosing to do the things that are going to result in your overall goal. And so for most of us that get to this point, it's not doing things in moderation. It's making a dramatic difference in the way that we eat, in the way that we move, in the way that we think about things. And if you can embrace that and be willing to change, then it's life-changing. Finding an hour out of your week is easier than finding 2 hours out of your week. And so for someone like me that, I don't live right next door to any of the centers. I have to make that effort to drive there, to, pay for parking, to, get dressed in something that looks appropriate to go outside. I love the Zoom thing. I think that it's made the classes so much more accessible to people that might have physical limitations, that, getting out and driving somewhere is difficult. Some people might even need somebody to give them a ride. So I love having the alternative that people can participate from their own homes. There are a lot of people that come into this with a very all or nothing approach, and I think it's much better if you can give yourself some, places to maybe hang out for a little bit before you continue. I was in class with a woman the other day, and she had lost 100 pounds and then kept it off for a while, and then lost the second 100. But she needed that period of just getting used to her body 100 pounds less before she was ready to embark on another journey like that. And so I think it's good if you have the support, from the staff here and from your medical provider to say, it doesn't have to happen all at once. It can happen in stages, and every pound that you take off is a benefit for your body. So, if you can only get 15 off at the beginning and you need to take a break, learn to live there and then take off another 15. As we often say in class, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And so if you want to have success in the long term, then sometimes you have to find those ways to be comfortable where you're at for a little bit. The other thing that I would say is that when I first got there, and I really didn't envision staying in it long term, because like so many people, it's like, I did this. I've got the tools now. I understand it. I can do this. And I'm so glad that I never stopped. I stayed in from the beginning. And frankly, I think the pandemic coming along and being able to do it remotely instead of having to drive in for class probably kept me in it when I might have decided not to stay. So now I'm hooked. I just can't imagine not participating in this long term. I would also tell other people, there's no reason to try and do this on your own. You have support. You have people that have been through it. You have leaders that have great ideas. So why not take advantage of all that?